Welcome to This Week in the Peace, a show dedicated to the people, events, and news of BC's Peace region. Here's your hosts, Dub Craig and Steve Berard.
Welcome to This Week in the Peace. A little later on, I'll be sitting down with Fort St. John Huskies head coach Todd Alexander to talk a bit about the season ahead. The Pups' first regular season game goes tonight against the North Peace Navigators in Peace River.
But first, a couple of weeks ago, we sat down with Trevor Bolin to talk about homelessness in Fort St. John. Bolin is a member of council and of the city's recently formed Homelessness Committee. Today, we're speaking with Trevor again to get an update on the work the committee has been doing, especially surrounding the encampment near Walmart and what the city is doing about it. Trevor, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back.
Of course. Always more than happy to have you. So to start, for people who maybe didn't catch the last interview, can you give me a very quick rundown of what the Homelessness Committee is, who's on it, and what you guys are going to be doing?
Yeah, I can, and we can jump right into that because Gordon and Sarah, Councillor Clausen and Councillor McDougall, are both at UBCM right now. So just before they left, we did hold our first meeting. Over the summer, we established a committee that is council's action plan. It is not a sit around, have a coffee, and talk about it kind of committee. It is boots on the ground, figuring out what communities are doing, what's working, what's not working. So Gordon and Sarah right now are at UBCM, as I mentioned. They are meeting with some of the different mayors and councils, CAOs in communities that have either had this same experience for longer or have maybe battled it or come up with a plan. So I know they're meeting with Campbell River and Prince George and Kamloops and a few of the different communities. So I think that's going to be a big win. I, at the same time, have been dealing with some of the communities in Alberta who have seemed to have big wins on this. I was fortunate to spend some time in some of the communities this summer, and they don't have the issues we have. So let's figure out what worked, maybe what didn't work, and how we can adopt that in Fort St. John, keeping in mind that British Columbia is a completely different beast than Alberta is. So.
Especially this far north. So obviously one of the big things you've seen on social media, we've all seen on social media, the big talk of the town lately has been that encampment near Walmart.
Yes.
Tell me a bit about what the city is doing about that.
So, and I think there's two things we start with is number one is there's no point in time that council isn't aware what's going on, right? So, and that doesn't mean not to report it, because, you know what, it's still reported. I had a message from somebody this morning who said, you know what, I reported an issue with a tent a few days ago. I got a notice back from the city today that it had been dealt with. So, I mean, that is a good thing, right? Second to that is we have been working with this. This is a municipal issue that is caused by a provincial law or a provincial bill, which is C-45, which is actually it's BC and Ontario. There's only certain things we can do. So yesterday, staff and contractors went into Matthews Park because there was a mess in Matthews Park, and there was some tents in there, and they cleaned the site up. And I mean, it looks beautiful. We posted pictures about it yesterday. Mm-hmm. There was quite a lively conversation, of course, about it on Facebook because there's always different views on what should be done, what shouldn't be done. Today was going to be another day at the Walmart site. I think this rain has probably pushed that off a little bit. So what staff have done inside the provincial legislation that we have to work in is let's go in, let's clean these sites up. We can't remove tents, we can't tear down tents, but we can certainly clean the entire area. We can mow it down. We can whippersnip it. We can make sure that it is open. It is airy. It is safer. In talking to some of the folks that are far more experienced at the homelessness issue than I am, there's actually only 7 or 8 people living on that site, right? They put together 10 to 12 tents. It looks big. It looks scary. It looks rubbish. And I think that is to keep people away. So, but the longer these get left, the messier they get, the grosser they get, the more unsafe they get. So, this isn't us going in and ripping up tents and slashing them down like I'm sure people have posted about. This is staff still being caring, but ensuring that community safety is paramount, the staff safety is paramount, and cleaning these sites up.
Can you tell me a little bit about Bill C-45 for people who maybe aren't familiar with it? They don't know how to follow provincial government. Tell me a bit about what that bill entails and some of the stuff that you guys have been, some of the discussions that have happened surrounding that.
Sure. So, I mean, this started about a year ago when you've seen it happening down south. It was happening, of course, in Toronto as well, which made the news. And the Superior Court ruled that if there is nowhere for folks to live, then they're able to live in a tent. And that affected BC and Ontario the most because those were the two court rulings that had happened. From then, the provinces adopted promoted some of these ideas, and of course that falls on all municipalities. So when you'll hear us as a council either hear us say or see us post that we are working inside the parameters we're allowed to, that's why, right? So if we were to step outside of those parameters, the province will literally step in and take the process over, which in my opinion, and seeing their track record so far, that would be devastating because they can't even manage what they're doing now, let alone taking on all of this. So as they continue to download this on the municipalities, it's more of an awareness campaign. So I did put my tent up. I put a tent up at
the courthouse,
at the government building, upon finding a no camping sign. So here we are, as a municipality, being chased down by the Human Rights Commissioner last year at this exact same time, wanting to meet with us to let us know things that, we can't have bylaws, we can't restrict people from having homes, although I don't agree that they're homes. So working inside of all of this is then the public education component to saying to people in Fort St. John, listen, we know, we hear you, we see it, we're here. We are the truest form of government. Let's start asking the MLA candidates. Let's start asking the leadership candidates. Let's ask these people that are trying to get into government in a month from now, or just even less than that, what are you going to do? Because so far this election, I've heard nobody talking about the homeless. I've heard nobody talking about health. I've heard nobody talking about the court system. Everything right now seems to be the weather and climate change. And there's so many more things. There's so much more things that are affecting our day-to-day lives right now. We need to get a handle on this because every year I've been saying this is going to get worse and it's going to get worse and it's getting worse. And this year I think was the kind of the holy grail, if you will, of people going, okay, this is the worst it's ever been.
Yeah, for sure. In the wake of all of this happening near that Walmart site, there have been some people proposing, just sort of casually offering their ideas on solutions on social media. There was one that I saw. Someone offered the idea of what if we take a couple of city-owned sites that are empty right now and just designate them as areas where you're allowed to camp. Have there been any consideration for any ideas like that or other solutions?
There has been. So Smithers has done that. So it's not taking a site saying you can camp here. It's picking out your 9 sites and saying that camping here is illegal and not saying anything about your tent site. That is how the government wants to see it happen. So, and in all fairness, I mean, that's fine, but that tent site is always going to be an issue, right? So until we can actually wrap our minds around what we can do, can we now do no signs or signs for no camping? Can we now institute a bylaw? So part of what we're working on with our current bylaw is if that is our solution, we need to work on that. In keeping in mind that, in about a month's time, they're going to have no issue moving back into the Salvation Army and back into BC Housing and abiding by their rules. So I think that's kind of what bothers me the most is that the province literally slaps us in the face and says, you must do as I say, not as I do. Right. And they ban camping and we're not allowed to. And then on the flip side, we're dealing with these issues and it's costing us money. Don't kid yourself that you're paying provincial taxes to deal with this issue. You're now going to be paying municipal taxes to deal with this issue. Yeah. Neither of those are going away. So then on the flip side, it's like, okay, well, November comes and it's minus 17 or minus 22. And, let's all take shelter and warm in somewhere because they've got 26 emergency beds just for that cause. So let's figure out how many beds are there. How can we make this a all-year solution, not a winter solution? How can we ensure that not only the folks living in tents, because I'm not a hateful guy. I'm not a mean guy. My dad was homeless. He lived in a tent in a bushed area in this city. So I understand that he did that by choice because he did not want to follow the rules that were governed by BC Housing. So and we all do that. There's rules here we have to follow. Right? I mean, there's things I'd like to say right now that I probably wouldn't say without Adam running out of his office and shutting us off air because we have rules. So let's figure out how we can craft something that's going to work for everybody. But at the end of the day, it's got to be for the entire community, which includes the folks living in tents. A majority of them were not bused here, as people say they are. I mean, some definitely moved to this location, but some of them have been here for years. I've been seeing them for close to a decade. So they are part of the community. If there's ways that we can make this work and make it beneficial for everybody, then continue giving us your ideas on Facebook. Continue interacting with council. I was legit walking into here and somebody emailed me and said, listen, here's what's going on in an area that I just spotted. Can we make sure this is on your guys' radar? 100% it's on our radar.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. What are sort of the next steps looking like for things? You mentioned UBCM. How high of a priority is homelessness for you guys? The people, obviously not you yourself, but the people that are at UBCM right now. How high of a priority is homelessness? And what are the next steps looking like going forward a month, 2 months from now?
Our CAO, Milo McDonald, was actually part of a panel on drugs and policing and enforcement, and where we've kind of come from, the decriminalization and legalization of hard drugs. So I mean, that was fantastic. The fact that we've got somebody with such knowledge as him, and being able to share that with the province and the ministers. From there, I haven't seen a lot of talk about homelessness. I've seen a lot of talk, of course, about being 30 days away from an election, but let's start talking about the issues. And that's, if we have to continue to pitch tents, or we have to continue to give out Premier EB's phone number, we will continue to do that, because that's what it should be about. And I think when Gordon Sarah come back, all of council comes back, but when Gordon Sarah back for the committee, we're gonna reconvene. We're gonna meet with some stakeholders. We're gonna gather some data that's already been collected. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're not trying to start the process over. There's no money that's involved in this. It's literally just us on our time, figuring out how we can make this work. So I think that we're just kind of at the start of it all, which I think is the most exciting part.
Yeah.
And of course we're going into winter, so this gives us some time to really figure out what the best course of action is to continue with an open and transparent committee and housing issues, and come up with solutions.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I think we're coming up on time now. Is there anything else you want to add while we still have you here?
No, I think that, honestly, I appreciate being here. I appreciate all the support on these issues that we're getting on council. We will continue to move forward in cleaning up sites until we have a resolution that works. But let's keep in touch, and as things start to progress and the bylaws start to become actual laws, let's get back together and go over it all.
Yeah, for sure. We're always happy to have you on. Always happy to stay in touch.
Thanks so much.
Of course. That was City Councillor Trevor Bolin. We'll be right back with Dub's conversation with Huskies head coach Todd Alexander on This Week in the Peace.
Welcome back to This Week in the Peace. I'm Dub. Now, the regular season for the Fort St. John Huskies Hockey Club starts tonight in Peace River. They also play Game 2 tomorrow in Fairview. So to chat a bit about the season ahead, I'm joined now by Huskies head coach Todd Alexander. Todd, welcome back to the show, sir.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Dub.
Thank you very much for making some time for us today. It is the regular season that does start today, is it not?
100%.
Okay. I saw
Finally
two different things online as to what was happening, but let's kind of start with, I guess, the exhibition season, the camp and all that. How did that go in general for you?
We had one of our largest camps that we've had since I've been tenure here, so it was nice to see. We had over 40 guys show up, so it was super competitive, and I think that a lot of the guys made hard decisions for us, and it was nice to see. And I think the popularity of it is continuing to grow, so that's something that also our general manager Jeremy Clothier has needs a part of a shout out there for that too. He puts a lot of work into scouting and off season, and that's sort of his baby, so he did a good job this year, and it was nice for us to have lots of options to choose from.
Mm-hmm. Is that something that he usually he goes out and talks to lots of people, and then just from a an organizational standpoint, there's the word I'm looking for, you never really know how many guys are going to want to actually show up and be a
he does a lot of the scouting. Yeah, exactly. He does a lot of the scouting, and you got your returning players and stuff, and then he also reaches out to some players that we know that can play at this level as well, and he'll make commitments and do whatever he needs to do to fill roster spots, or at least create some battles so that we can have a look at. And sometimes he does a good job where some of the new guys beat out guys that have been here before. I mean, no one's ever really guaranteed a spot. That's not a word that we like to use. I know it gets used or overused a lot at this level, but then all of a sudden you get everybody together and a guy can't play. Well, you're not going to take him just because you said a month ago that you guaranteed him a spot. So it is what it is. It's competitive hockey, and unfortunately you can only take 25 people at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, I tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems like there's quite a few new faces on the team, including the goaltending core, which we'll talk about in a minute. Also, you've got a new captain for the team. So when that happens, how do you, if at all, adjust your approach to, you want to train new players to your system, but they may be coming from very different backgrounds and have kind of different skill sets. What do you kind of do? How do you adjust kind of your approach to, coaching them and sort of getting them to play Huskies hockey, if we want to call it?
Yeah, definitely a good turnover this year. I mean, we got some good vets, but they're still young vets that we have, and yeah, we got a new captain. He's a young captain, so he's going through that grind. But I mean, we also have lots of guys that are good, proud alumni that reach out. A lot of conversation going on in the background with some of these guys, helping us out, making sure that they know what the expectations are and what it is to be a Husky and the daily grind of things. And so it's been super appreciative that we've got that many alumni that care. I think I've had a couple guys out skating with us already, and that helps a lot too, because then they're out there having good conversations with the players, helping them bring them up to speed. I got a good coaching staff. Brent Morgan's been here now 3-4 years. He's well versed in what's going on. My father's been around the whole time I've been here, so as far as like making an adjustment goes, we have to put a little bit more effort into teaching sometimes and have a little bit more conversation than you do when you have a veteran club. But at the end of the day, I think that we're still on pace to get what we need out of the players, especially for this time of the year. I think it's just more or less learning to massage the group, because every group and every year is a little bit different as far as their culture and how they behave with each other, and that kind of stuff is important to continue to learn. And just when you have more guys, you got to learn more personalities and how everybody functions. And so that part of it is definitely a little bit harder, and you have to be mindful of those types of things versus just the systematical stuff. I already know that's going on there. We can teach that. We know we can get after some of the structure that we're used to, and we have the same amount of ice time that we normally do. So that type of stuff is going on right now, and it's been working out pretty good so far. I mean, there's growing pains for sure with some of the young players, but I think that we've been working through it pretty nice, and our captain's been doing a good job of jumping into that role and getting after the type of guy that in the way that he wants to lead too. So it's been important for us to be together quite a bit here lately, and I think that the path that we're on currently, that we should be off to the races here and get some business done early in the season.
I want to talk about the goaltender, because I know last year at least one moved on to Marion, and that's happened before for the Huskies. But a pair of rookies, I believe, are on the roster. Did they beat out veterans who had played before?
No, last year both our goalies graduated. One guy's moved on to Grand Prairie, and he's doing really good. He'd be an overager, and then the other guy, like you mentioned, Powers, he went down to Marion on a scholarship for school, and apparently he's doing pretty good down there. He's with another guy that started for us a couple years ago, Tyler MacArthur, who's in line to start for that hockey club now too. So lots of exciting things again for the alumni and for the guys that choose to carry on with their hockey career. Those opportunities have been coming more and more for these guys each and every year, and it's exciting for us to be able to give them those opportunities, and it's nice to see them taking advantage of it as well. As far as the goalie situation goes this year, we got a couple local kids right now. We're a little bit different than minor hockey. We got 45 cards to play with. What we start with right now doesn't mean that that's where we'll be at in January. So a lot of evaluation, a lot of other players are still out at higher levels, and they're evaluating their players, and the trickle down effect happens as we go along here too. So I mean, it's already happening up front with some of our forwards, and I think we got one defenseman back from a different camp the other day too. So I mean, there are still battles that got to sort themselves out, and at the end of the day, we'll make the best hockey decision we can for the group, and we'll try to keep the best 25 that we can, that gives the club the best opportunity to win and get to where they want to at the end of the year. So as long as we still have cards, and there's guys that are available all the way up to January 10th is when we are unable to stop making moves. So you're looking at probably about 75% of the roster at minimum is probably going to be here for sure. But there are definitely moves that we still have to make, and I know Jeremy's still busy doing some things in the background to help improve this club.
Yeah. Was it like that last year and even the year before? Or would you say you had more of kind of the team set kind of in previous years?
A little bit. I mean, honestly, on average, we lose 30% of our roster every year. So, give or take on that side of things. So we're always trying to massage it, and it seems like every year that you're just looking for different things on what you want to improve on. Sometimes you're looking for another goalie. Sometimes you're looking specific for a left or a right-handed defenseman. Sometimes you're looking for a little bit of scoring. Sometimes you're looking for some depth or a little bit of toughness. And every team has its own shape and its own form, and you'll find those weaknesses. And then that's kind of where Jeremy goes to work and tries to help recruit or trade for players and bring them in to make sure that we stay competitive and have a good product. And it's important for us to show up each and every night and continue with what we got going on with the fans here in Fort St. John, and they enjoy watching our games, and we want to make sure that we're competitive every night, so they want to keep coming out and watching the product on the ice.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds like it's going to be an exciting year, lots of cool, exciting new players to watch and whatnot. Going into the season then, other than the Huskies, do you think the teams to beat? Is it Lacrete? Is it the Grand Prairie? Who do you think is the kind of the top team this year? You'll be
and you got to give Lacrete credit. They're well coached. They're the defending champions, and it's been a while since we haven't been able to say that. So we got work to do this year for sure. And like you said there, everybody sort of has surprises and things. It's sort of a coin toss, especially in junior hockey. You never know what can or can't happen with everybody's roster and whatnot. But overall, I think the league's very competitive. It's a good league to play in. Lots of players are getting good looks for college and whatnot, and the league's been doing a better job of attracting higher end talent. So every night is it's only a 40 game schedule, so you definitely got to show up and make sure that you got your best foot forward on a consistent basis, and that's what we're just trying to build towards, is being consistent and not having too big a dip or too high of a ceiling, really, and just learning about ourselves, and at the end of the day, all that'll take care of itself as long as we're putting the work in properly as a group.
Absolutely. All right, Coach. Well, I know you're heading to Peace River tonight for Game 1, and then, of course, you'll be in Fairview, I believe, Saturday night for the second game, and then home opener next weekend or weekend after?
October 5th is the home opener. For
home. But, I just want to say good luck. Thank you for making some time for us today, and I hope it's a good season for you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I super appreciate the time with you guys all the time, and looking forward to chatting to you without the year.
You're very welcome. Thanks for being here. That's Todd Alexander, the head coach of the Fort St. John Huskies. Well, that's the show for today. A big thanks again to Trevor Bolin for joining us earlier on This Week in the Peas, and thank you for tuning in.
You can listen to this show again by checking out the podcast at Energeticcity.ca/podcasts. We'll store this and future episodes of the show there as we make them. Also, check out our other locally produced podcasts, Before the Peace and Secrets of the North as well. That's our show. I'm Steve Berard.
I'm Dub Craig. Be well.